Now it's time for a look at the market action so far this week. And on this Wednesday, we're joined by Dr. Hwang Seiwoon, Research Fellow at the Korea Market Institute. Thanks for making time today, Dr. Hwang.
Good afternoon.
Markets in the U.S. and really around the world have been rising for a few days in a row now. Would you say investors are breathing a sigh of relief?
The global stock markets are cautiously optimistic, hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. After a strong start to the week and a big rebound last quarter, investors appear less eager to keep driving global stock prices higher. Most U.S. equities finished off from the lows of the day on Tuesday as investors reassessed the strongest first quarter rally in almost a decade. The Dow was dragged down for the first time in 4 days. After being lower most of the session, the S&P 500 finished little changed. Technology shares pushed the Nasdaq higher. In Asia, Hong Kong, Japanese, and Korean shares outperformed, while Chinese equities seeing more modest gains. After a report that the U.S. and China have ironed out most of their differences in trade negotiations, investors are looking for more positive signs to sustain the rally.
Right. Well, what happened today on Korea's main index, the Kospi? It looks like this positivity is carrying over here, too.
That's right. The Korean equities traded higher as foreigners and domestic institutions expanded their stock purchases ahead of trade talks between the United States and China this week. Kospi rose 1.2% at close, and Kosdaq gained 1.32%. Foreigners and domestic institutions bought a net 273 billion won and 194 billion won respectively, offsetting 462 billion won worth of stock selling by individuals. Tech, auto, and steel stocks led gains, with market bellwether Samsung Electronics rising 1.86%, top car maker Hyundai Motor Company climbing 4.2%, and leading steel maker POSCO gaining 2.25%.
Yeah, some strong gains there on the Kospi and the Kosdaq. Now, on Wednesday in Washington, the U.S. and China are going to be resuming their trade talks. In the meantime, the IMF and others have said this trade war is depressing the outlook on the world economy. What are the issues at stake here in these talks? And depending on what happens, how will the markets respond?
Okay. The Christine Lagarde, IMF Managing Director, said global growth has lost momentum since the start of the year, leaving the world economy in a precarious position. The global economy has weakened since the IMF last updated its forecast in late January, though a recession isn't likely in the near term. Lagarde said Tuesday in remarks prepared for a speech at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in Washington. She also mentioned that while confidence has been boosted by the Federal Reserve's switch to a more patient stance and signs of a trade deal between the U.S. and China, investors remain concerned the global expansion may be running out of steam a decade after the financial crisis. The United States and China expect to make more headway in trade talks this week. White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow said on Tuesday a Chinese Vice Premier Liu He is due to resume talks with U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin on Wednesday.
Yeah, so we should know more by the time the week is out, but for today, we'll have to leave it there. Dr. Hwang, thanks for your insights, as always.
Thank you.